Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa is preparing to go on a pilgrimage in India now that ceremonial formalities have drawn to a close in New Delhi. He had, remember, earlier sat down with his Indian counterpart Prime Minister Narendra Modi and had discussed a whole range of issues, from terrorism to joint economic cooperation. But his diplomatic mission, of course, will not be complete without him visiting these religious sites. Now, India's Foreign Office, of course, is wielding what is known as soft diplomacy by arranging for Rajapaksa to visit some of the holiest sites of Buddhism in India, such as Bodh Gaya and Sarnath. Buddhism, remember, in fact, emerged out of India. Now, in the tour which begins from today, Rajapaksa will first be visiting the Kashi Vishwanath temple in Banaras before heading out 10 kilometers from the city to the Buddhist stupa at Sarnath. On the 10th of February, he is expected to fly to Bihar to visit the Mahabodhi temple, which marks the spot where Gautama Buddha is said to have attained enlightenment. The next day, he will then proceed further south to Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh, ending his stay in India before flying back to Colombo on the 12th of February. Now, India knows that the pilgrimage, of course, offers the Sinhalese Prime Minister a brilliant photo opportunity to endear himself further in his Buddhist majority nation. As for India, historical links to Theravada Buddhism, which is majorly practiced in Sri Lanka, offers a good position to further its relations with Colombo. It's also being presented as a part of Indian government's plan to use soft power assets in India, such as Buddhism, for the resonance that it lends to foreign policy, especially in Asia. The deepening ties with other Asian nations on the basis of Buddhism could potentially feed into the larger policy objectives of the government, namely the Neighbourhood First policy and also the Act East policy. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, remember, has of course made it a point to make Buddhism a regular feature during his diplomatic visits. Now, Buddhism has been critical in the bilateral ties between the two nations, despite the many differences that India and Sri Lanka may have on the issue of how Sri Lanka has been treating its Tamil population. The two countries, given the claims of the Tamils in Sri Lanka of persecution in the name of religion and ethnicity, which, remember, led to a very bloody civil war, which had in fact been presided over by the gentleman that you're looking at on your screens, Mahinda Rajapaksa. At that time, of course, he had been the president of Sri Lanka. Now, both Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Rajapaksa have repeatedly acknowledged that they would need to look at the tenets of peace found in Buddhism to solve the many issues that are dogging the two nations in the international waters. And also earlier, Prime Minister Modi had expressed confidence in Rajapaksa's government to ensure equality, justice and peace for the Tamil population in Sri Lanka, while also has requested for a more humanitarian approach towards Indian fishermen who are often arrested by the Sri Lankan Navy for fishing in these waters between India and Sri Lanka in the Pak Straits. Now, in terms of finding a common ground, both India and Sri Lanka have faced the wrath of terrorism, the island country most recently in the Easter bombings, which took place in April last year. On Easter Sunday, 3 churches and luxury hotels had been targeted in a series of suicide bombings in Colombo, and foreign policy observers are saying that Sri Lanka and India could find a common cause with the crucial Buddhist connection to fight radical Islam. It's also being said that religious places for Rajapaksa's tourism in India have been carefully chosen to reflect what is known as Hindu-Buddhist unity.